Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Made Simple Club. Hello there, everybody. We do live interviews with experts and leaders in the real estate investing world. And be sure and join us live because then you get to ask questions. I'm LeAnn Riley. I'm a national real estate coach and a broker, and I help ambitious people build a step-by-step roadmap to a six-figure income by creating a real estate portfolio of winning cash flow properties. I built a $14 million portfolio in residential, multifamily, condo development, commercial, and vacation properties. And I lead the Encore investment team of realtors in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. And to sign up for the club and get invited to these live streams, to learn from experienced experts, and we offer tips, tools, trends on the latest profit building ideas in real estate, you want to go to leannriley.com/club. That's how you can register, and then you'll be reminded. So today's topic is build to rent. And I'm sure you've heard of it, but like even for me in the business, I wasn't quite sure how it worked. And so I was curious about it, and I dug into who was behind the Twin Cities build to rent scene. And all roads pointed to Ian Peterson. And I just had to meet him. And it turns out he's been developing these communities in Texas, Florida, and the Twin Cities for years. So we have our expert. So our guest today is Ian Peterson, and he's the owner of Integrate Properties. And he has built to rent communities here in the Twin Cities in Albertville and an upcoming one in Victoria. So we're going to find out about those. And he just has a ton of experience as a developer in this asset class. And he's the former director of operations for Watermark Equity and the division president of David Weekley Homes. So thank you for joining us today. I'm so glad that I got an expert.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to be here and have a great conversation.
Yeah. So get us started and describe the typical build to rent philosophy. Just kind of clue us in on what it is.
What it is, really it started after the last downturn, and there were all these vacant developed lots scattered around, not necessarily here in Minnesota. I believe the first one was in Reno, Nevada. A national home building company decided to build homes and rent them out. And so that was really how it all started. And from there, it went down to the Smile States. So a lot in Arizona, all the way through Florida. And essentially, the idea of it was, instead of owning multiple single family homes across a metro area, if you can combine them all into one geographic area in one plat, then you really save on maintenance costs, you save on overhead costs, leasing agent costs, because you can cover typically up to about 100 homes with one leasing agent and one on-site maintenance person.
Ooh, and boy, if your portfolio is spread out, you could never cover 100 homes.
Correct. Yeah. No, very difficult.
Okay, so you scale, or the expenses can be lowered, is what you're saying.
Yeah, really, you save on your OpEx costs. So that was the idea behind it, and the social ideas behind it were, the dream after the last downturn. Many folks saw their parents, grandparents, whomever themselves lose their home. It was always said, real estate's the safest investment you can have. You're never going to lose money. Well, if you buy at the wrong time, whether it's stocks or real estate, in the short term, you can definitely lose money. And so a lot of people saw friends, family, homes foreclosed upon. I'll say the generation coming up now, it wants to be more mobile. They value their time a lot more, and they don't necessarily want to be tied down. And then the environment we're in today, while people think the interest rates are high, should I buy now, not buy now? It gives an alternative for those who are on the fence to live in a single family home. but rent.
That's a great point, because you're right. People are nervous right now with the interest rates they're just not sure what to do, but you still have to live. You have to live somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And, typically the communities we create are what we term in the apartment world class A space. So it's highly amenitized. They all have a clubhouse, a pool, a workout room, a great room in the clubhouse. Mechanical rooms are designed to come off the garage such that the residents have no access to the mechanical space. So the maintenance person replaces the furnace filter, fills the water softener every month. And so from a owner's perspective, you don't have to rely upon the tenant to be doing those maintenance type issues. It's all taken care of by the management company.
So can the maintenance guy get in through the garage? So they don't have to be home. He can get in the garage, get to what he needs to get to.
Yep. Yeah. So all of these homes that we build are what we call smart rent homes. So it's all technology driven. So you can control basically everything in the home from your phone on an app. Front ring doorbell, your front door lock, light switches in the home, thermostat. And so the maintenance person has a code to the garage. And so if I was a renter and my garage door went up, I could see that it was the maintenance person. And so they only have access to the mechanical room within the garage.
That's cool. That's well thought out. That's right there. You cut costs of coordinating.
Yes.
People not cooperating or not being home and all that stuff.
Correct. Yep.
Great. It's so it sounds luxurious. Well, number one, they're new build. So they're on trend, I would imagine, coloring and all those other things, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Always, as we start a new community, always looking at new flooring options, down to lights and everything else, make sure we're keeping up to date.
We already have a question. I see Renee's on here. Hi, Renee. What age demographic do you see wanting to rent these? Hey, that you're stealing one of my questions there. But let's talk about that. Who is your target market for this thing?
So our very first community that we did here in the Twin Cities was in Maple Grove. And, we estimated, now there wasn't a lot of data when we started in this endeavor. And so we estimated maybe 10% of the profile would be an empty nester. And the rest we were thinking was going to be millennials. And we were wrong. And no matter if it's in the Twin Cities, Nashville, Tennessee, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, anywhere we've gone, the demographic is almost exactly the same. And it's about a third empty nesters. It's about a third millennials and about a third what we call 40 somethings. And those 40 somethings typically are a divorcee situation where they need to stay in the same school district, have the kids, share the kids, still want a single family home, don't want to live in an apartment type complex. And so plus or minus 3-4%, it's almost exactly a third.
That is interesting. Because I was, not quite what I thought. I have a quick slide here I want to show you folks. This is a couple of pictures so you can see what a typical, these are from Albertville actually. And I think you help me. Is that the 2-story and the 1-story model?
Yep. Those are the homes. You can see, they have granite countertops in the kitchens, soft closed doors on the cabinets. It's highly amenitized. They all have fireplaces in them. And the first floor typically, or the living areas are typically that LVP that you can see in the picture. Yep. Bedrooms come with carpet, and everybody gets 2-car garage. So everybody's happy. Pets, over 50% of our renters have pets. And of those pets, 98% of them are dogs. And
I'm not surprised. And so are the yards fenced then or no?
The yards are not fenced, no. We install a dog park in all the communities typically. And so that's where we try to create a community where folks don't really want to leave. So, if we can have a dog park, people can gather, meet one another, have a clubhouse, pool, those types of things, workout room, then people gather and talk and get to meet one another.
Okay, so how many homes are usually like Albertville, for example, how many homes are out there, rental homes?
So that community in Albertville is 70 homes, and in one community. The very first one we did was in Maple Grove, and that was 66 units. And really that 70 unit mark is the smallest we would go.
Okay.
And I'll caveat that because I'm going to tell you something that I broke the golden rule. But that 70 unit mark typically can handle the on-site maintenance and leasing person. And you can go up to about 120 units with one of each of those people. Once you get over that 120 number, you really start to have to add another half a body or so. And so we typically try to keep them between 70 and 120.
Yep.
Now, the second one we did was in Plymouth, and that was a little boutique deal. It's Wayzata Schools, and that one was 37 units. But what we were able to do is cross share the maintenance and the leasing with Maple Grove.
Well, and I would think on it, the expense, that community area and pools and all that at 37 units, they had to be higher buck to make. Yeah.
No, I mean, I want to say the average rents in that Plymouth community are close to $4,300.
Yeah.
So
I read that rents average 3,000 to 4,500, somewhere in there.
Yep.
But I think when I met you before, I thought you said Albertville had some lesser than 3,000 rents.
Yeah. So in Albertville, and so on average, typically the smallest home, which is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, slab on grade home, caters more to the empty nester and or a short-term relocation renter. Depending on where it is in Albertville, I want to say that starts at about 2,700. In Victoria, starts about 2,800, and down in Rochester, it starts at 2,800. So
yep. So okay, and now I have a question about this community center. You said that's where the pool is and the workout room. Is there like entertainment, or do you social hour or wine night on Tuesday at 5 and like stuff like that?
Yeah, so the management company will host different events throughout the month. Usually it's 1 or 2 events a month. It could be wine and painting, could be outdoor barbecue, during the summer months. We've had Super Bowl parties. The community room is also available to renters, so they can rent that if they want to have birthday parties or extended large family gatherings for Thanksgiving, that kind of thing.
I was reading about all over the US and build to rent, and I saw some of them even had co-working spaces in the community area.
Yeah, some of them do. We haven't taken it to that extreme. We typically have smaller tables, and then you can push those tables together. Some of those larger communities, like in Phoenix area, down in Florida, you're talking 250, 300 units. And so those clubhouses get very, very large, where, the co-working spaces fit in nicely.
Yeah.
All of the homes that we have are designed with either an office in the home or an office and what we call a pocket office, which is also, some people call it a Zoom room. It's a small office area where you can shut the sliding door and do your business as well.
Okay, so it's just a small room, not the size of a bedroom. It's smaller.
No, correct.
But
yep.
That's nice to have. It's a private area.
Yeah,
That's
private area with a barn door that closes behind you if you want. And like I said, I want to say, short of the smallest home, all the other ones have a true office type den area.
oh, okay. And are these 2 bedrooms or 3? Both.
It's a mix. So the smallest one's a 2 bedroom. The next one up is also a 1 level home. It has 3 bedrooms. One of those bedrooms can double as an office.
Yeah.
And then we get into the 2-story homes. And so the smallest 2-story home is about 1,715 square feet. And that has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Next one up is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a little more space. It's almost 1,900 square feet. And then the largest one is a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,100 square feet.
So there's a lot of choices for people. You can really, they can fit however many people they have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, kind of goes in cycles. When we started, and I'll say the first 3 communities, the smaller homes were more popular.
Oh,
And now, ironically, the bigger homes are more popular. We just opened for leasing down in Rochester, and the first lease that was signed was for the biggest home we have. It's a 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath home. So,
see,
yeah.
yeah, isn't that interesting? Rochester is a very booming community and there's plenty of medical people down there. Yeah. And, I read something else too, when we were talking about those 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, downsizing people too might stop there for a while before they decide where they're going to go. They might end up renting for a couple of years.
For sure. Yeah, no, when we did the one in Plymouth, Star Tribune ran a big article about the first people that leased there. They sold their home, and this was right around COVID, right after COVID, during COVID, something like that. And it's a very interesting article. They sold their home in Plymouth. They had a place up north. They wanted to downsize, weren't sure what they were going to do. And they signed a 2-year lease to live there, try it out. Didn't have to mow the lawn, didn't have to shovel snow, didn't have to do anything. And they could have a flexible schedule, go up north whenever they wanted, go down south whenever they wanted, still keep an eye on their home with that smart rent technology. And, with that smart rent technology, we also have leak sensors. So if a leak occurs, the sensor goes off and the maintenance staff gets
They'll get over
notified. Right.
That is really a great thing for people who are traveling and retired or what, they go all over, like you say. And if you have a single family home, either your neighbors or your kids have to watch the darn thing.
Right.
And then you gotta plow and put the garbage out and all the other things. And so you're right. This is a really great stop and not in an apartment.
Yeah. And some people aren't ready for the apartment condo type living yet and still want to have a single family home and take a year or 2 to decide what the next step is, where the grandkids are going to end up.
Your mic right here is on your shirt collar, and then stick it out there because it's rubbing.
Oh, my apologies.
And I'm just, it's little, but perfect. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And this dog thing you're talking about, what's the percentage of people who have an animal?
It's just over 50%, 52%. Yeah.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
When we met, I have to laugh because I'm an RV traveler, and this reminds me of the RV parks. Everybody has a pet, but not me. But like, it's just part of it's them and their kids, their pets.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and then when you do these build to rent, I guess Plymouth isn't, they're mostly suburban though. They're not like downtown. Nobody's doing, there's not enough land, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, some people, so these are all true single family homes. Some people are into townhome rentals. And so there are some that would be more urban, I'd say. But
yeah, like Albertville's, that's a little bit out. That's not like Plymouth. It's out further.
Yeah, and really with this space and the Class A space that we target, we really track school districts. And so,
Um,
excellent school districts and, up and coming school districts. So St. Michael Albertville is a very up and coming school district. And so that's why that was targeted.
It makes sense. And the average income of these folks that all do this build to rent, do you have a number?
Yeah, so I'll extract Plymouth because that really skews the numbers.
Yeah,
But
because that's the expensive one. Yeah.
all of the others, the average income is over $160,000. So these folks are folks who can't afford to buy, but are choosing not to buy for whatever situation their life is in.
And then in, like, for example, Rochester, which is Rochester still being built, right?
Yeah, we haven't even finished the model home in Rochester yet.
But you already have one leased.
Yeah, we have some lease down there. Match day with Mayo, which is when doctors are assigned for their next training, was March 17th. And so we went live with the website on March 17th. And so doctors, nurses who got matched with Mayo now all of a sudden have to have a place to live. They need to be in by June 30th. And so we have a tremendous interest list. So I've been working through that and
That's
signing
great.
leases.
Okay, and these leases, how somebody's asking this, are they 1 year, 2 year? What do we got?
Typically they're 1 year or 2 year. We won't go more than 2 years on a lease to not give up any upside in potential rent increases. We will allow 10%. So in Albertville, there's 70 units. We'll allow 7 homes to be on a 6-month lease. But no more than that. And we won't go less than a 6-month lease.
Yeah, and that maybe caters to some of those divorcees. They're just in that in between, I have to figure it out period.
Yeah, absolutely. Now in Rochester, we're toying with the idea of taking a certain percentage of those homes and offering them on a shorter, like a 1-month lease for folks who have to go to Mayo Clinic,
Sure.
for treatments and diagnosis and things like that. So we haven't landed on whether we're going to do that or not, but that's we're investigating that right now.
That could be a whole pocket, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you would probably have to furnish those.
Correct. Yep, those would be furnished.
Do these people, you've seen the cycle already in some of the communities you were in, like, do they renew typically?
Yeah, so a typical apartment complex in that Class A space will have just north of 50% turnover on an annual basis. What we've been seeing is right around the 35% number. So
They like it.
They enjoy it. Again, whatever their life situation is, they're liking it and aren't ready to make that next decision.
That's cool. That's a good thing. And then property management, like, I know you're the developer, but you don't manage it. Somebody else does, right?
Correct. I hire an outside, I hire an outside management and leasing company to run the day-to-day operations within the community.
That's smart business, folks. That way you can do what you do best and somebody else can, right?
Yeah, everyone's telling me I should start a management leasing company, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. So, and I have good partners on the outside, so that's good.
Now, this was what surprised me when I met with you was I thought investors could buy these. And so tell us about how the operations, particularly here in the Twin Cities, are working. You can buy single units, but not right here in these 2 developments or.
Yeah, so typically the way it works, you have your community, and I'll use Albertville as an example. It's 70 homes, and it's going to cost, I'll make up a number, $100 to build. I will throw in 35% of the equity, and then I'll get a bank loan for 65% of the balance. And so as the homes are completed, they're leased, you're getting revenue back in the door, which really helps on a cash flow perspective and helps on the mortgage perspective. It's
Yes.
not like building a 200-unit apartment building and you burn through all that $100 and then you open the door and hope people come, and then you're paying interest on the 18-month time frame it takes to deliver that.
Because the first, even that, once you have that model and you can rent it as you go.
Yep.
And that pays your payments. Yeah. Good. It's a good model. I like that. And then also the other thing I learned is, you're running the development, but you'll take partners or co-investors or funding.
Yes. Yeah. So like in Rochester, that one was a 118-unit deal. To bridge the gap in the equity, we went out and did a friends and family raise. So, went around and we actually overfunded through that, but that was a good problem to have.
That is a good problem to have. Yeah. And that's one way investors can participate like that. Now, just for other investors out there, I did research. You can buy individual single family homes. There's builders doing that too, build to rent in many cities. And I'm going to read off some: Atlanta, Charlotte, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dallas, Dayton, Houston, Jacksonville, Orlando, or Tampa. That's just one source I know had them in all those cities. And just think about that. Those are the cities where population is growing and all the economics are right to be doing something like this, that they're easy to rent and they're building them and selling them one at a time.
Yeah. Yep.
I looked at the numbers and, they cash flowed anywhere between $300 and $500 a month, somewhere right in there.
Yep.
And they'll
it's a good investment.
I know it. And I mean, it's brand new construction in a brand new community, and they'll manage them for you too, on this sort of same scale that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's available. And yeah, I thought that was really good. Now, I read a statistic yesterday, and you're the perfect person to ask, that Twin Cities home building permits were down 72% in March. What's that about? Or is that affecting this at all?
No, it's not affecting this space at all. In fact, this space is probably propping those numbers up from what could be worse. Give you perspective between, well, in Albertville, we had pulled all our permits, but in Victoria, there's another single family rental under construction in Maple Grove. Those accounted for, maybe 12 of the permits, 16 of the permits that were pulled. I know on the for sale new construction business, November, December, January were pretty tough. And that kind of feeds the pipeline for March building permits. It's typically a 60-day lag.
It's a cyclical number is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Let me see here. I answered that question. I'm looking through my questions. Okay. So what do you see in store? Are you having supply issues or labor shortages, or you got that all figured out?
We have that all figured out. During COVID, it became a little challenging, just with supply chain issues, things coming from overseas. But today, again, we switched countertops. All our countertops are granites, and they're harvested out of Cold Spring, Minnesota. So we made some strategic shifts along the way from overseas supply to domestic supply.
Yeah.
And with the domestic supply, we really haven't seen any supply chain issues. Windows occasionally got jammed up. We used black exterior windows, so there was some issue with the resin, and so we had to pivot and found a different manufacturer who got the resin from Germany. So, but all in all, it's pretty streamlined now.
that's what's kind of cool about your system, a lot different than a regular home builder who has to custom this and custom that. Yours is a lot more, it's kind of like someone with a rental portfolio that they use the same carpet, the same this, the same that, and paint them all the same color, and it's more streamlined.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you can go and, work with vendors and say, like, for instance, Victoria was 110 units and Rochester was 118 units. So you have 228 units worth of cabinets or flooring or pick your item. That gives you tremendous purchasing power.
Absolutely.
And so that's a tremendous benefit. We keep everything the same, all the finishes, all the flooring, like you indicated, strictly from a maintenance perspective. Don't need to be stocking 17 different types of flooring, light fixtures, takes up a lot of space. We will customize paint colors. If somebody wants, they pay for it. But we will customize.
Okay. And do you think is build to rent a trend or a fad?
I think it's here for the long term. I think as more communities come online, it gets more popular. People understand the space. It gives a great housing opportunity alternative to those who, we had somebody move into the Maple Grove community. They knew they were only going to be there for 2 or 3 years due to job relocation, and loved the home. Family loved the home, and so they lived there for 2.5 years and then got transferred out. And so didn't have to deal with finding a home. Was it the right neighborhood? Was it this? Was it that? Selling the home because they knew they were going to be gone and taking the risk.
Who knows? Corporate people would in places where they can buy just one. That's a great handle on relocation.
Yeah, and some of the communities, we do have corporate accounts with corporations where they actually lease the unit.
Okay, and then bring in their different people.
Somebody may come in for a 3-month project, and instead of putting them in the extended stay, they put them in the unit. Or if they're relocating somebody, hey, live here for a while until you figure out where you want to be, that type of thing. And so that's been very nice, both from an owner perspective and very nice for those folks as well.
Okay, I have I know you said in Victoria, Marsh Hollow, you're just grand opening the model, like what, this week, next week? Right.
It'll get decorated next Wednesday. And so, yeah, we will.
By next weekend, it'll be open?
Yep, for sure. Now it's a little bit of a mud pit because that time of year, but we're going to try to clean it up as much as we can.
And if I remember right, it's partially single family build to rent, but then partially another side of it is townhomes. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so we have 110 single family homes for rent and a clubhouse, and then we have 103 townhomes that will be for sale.
Okay, and do they get to use the clubhouse?
We haven't figured that piece of it out yet.
You're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want, and somebody here is asking about this, so it's perfect. Your scale of operations is impressive. It really is. And that's why I'm so glad I found the guru, you guys. But I wonder, how did you get started operating, on a larger scale? And what would you think helped you most? How did you get to being this smart about it?
Every entrepreneur, a lot of it is luck, right? And so I was running David Weekly Homes. I started that for David. And my background is on the land end of the business. And, running a home building operation, you oversee everything, all the good, bad, and the ugly. And I really miss the land end of the business. So I had told David I needed to transition out, and I've always been entrepreneurial. So we had about a 6-month transition. And in that period of time, this equity group out of Chicago called me. They had a lot of money and we're trying to get into the space, but needed somebody that knew the land development end, that knew the home building end, and knew kind of the players and put it together. And so I thought at first, these guys are crazy. They were young. And then that's when I first started looking into what single family rentals were, fell in love with it. And yeah, I guess we went all in. So that, and a lot of it's learning as you go. In this space, on the OpEx side, property taxes will kill you. And we have turned down deals especially in Texas, property taxes vary significantly from community to community. And so it may look like a great deal, but once you dig into what the true property taxes are for these homes, it economically doesn't make sense. So like, again, a lot of it's learn as you go, have great partners, and, work through the problems together.
And, now, just so people know, you own the development company, and you a couple of years ago went out on your own.
Yeah. So the partnership at
everybody
the equity
else.
group, as all partnerships end at some point, so I left that partnership and went out on my own, and it's been fantastic. It was, before David called me, it was something I had wanted to do for probably a decade. And I learned a tremendous amount staying on. I don't want to say I have regret that I didn't do it sooner, but it's fantastic to just call the shots on your own.
Oh yeah. And you had such vast experience in it, you're an expert now at build to rent. Anything that shift, because a lot of people who invest in real estate, this is where they're stuck. How do I get over there? Like you say, you wanted to do it for a while, but how do I get over there to the other side? Any mindset shifts that helped your transition?
Like I said, it was a passion of mine that I had wanted to do. I think, deep down in everybody's gut, they either have it or they don't have it. There's a lot. Everyone says, well, don't you miss, the camaraderie, relying on somebody else, and, to a certain degree, yes, but it's my money in the deal. And so I'm going to make sure it's taken care of. I'm at all the properties that I have, at least once a week. And, everybody from the maintenance person to the residents, to the leasing agents, to the builder, they all know what the expectations are. And so that's kind of fun.
Well, it takes a village, we'll say, to pull off what you're doing. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
You've been coordinating those for a while. So it sounds like you have a fine-tuned system.
Well, I wouldn't say fine-tuned. There's key players that are instrumental, partners. I've got a great build partner in these deals that handle the construction of the homes. Great leasing management company, and I always, these relationships have been there for a long time. I moved to the Twin Cities in 2000, and it's interesting how the web gets woven throughout your career, and it's actually kind of fun to put everything together. I always say I'm just like an orchestra director. I don't know how to play any instruments, but I can wave the baton and everybody sounds good.
That's a great analogy. Janus has another question too. So you have this one maintenance person and one leasing person per community for, the numbers you gave us, 70 to 120, and they're full-time on site, right?
Leasing person, yes. During startup, the maintenance person typically floats between a couple different communities. It's all brand new construction. all the trades are on site continuing to build homes. And so really that maintenance person, may be there once, twice a week.
So not
But
that much till they all get built, then
correct.
it keeps them busy.
Yeah.
So, out here in the duplex, fourplex or apartment building,
Yeah.
property management is somewhere around 8% roughly. Is it less? Because, when it's a new build, you really have less maintenance than some of the older stuff. Or is it, percentage wise, or, is it a big chunk?
That's a great question. On the personnel side, I haven't boiled it down that far. The total OpEx for the community typically runs between 25 to 30%. So
that darn overhead, right?
yeah, and in that, there's real estate taxes, there's all kinds of stuff going on within that percentage number, but personnel wise, I'd have to boil it down. I would definitely say there is some savings, just from perspective, one maintenance person, covering 4 different communities during startup, and really because it is all brand new construction, we get the 1, 2, 10 warranty. So all the mechanicals are for a 2-year stint. So if anything goes wrong with those, it's not the maintenance
That all
person
helps,
addressing
yeah.
it.
You don't need a new roof. You don't need all the other CapEx
Correct.
that
Yeah.
comes up. Yeah, totally makes sense. And you get to scale and use that same person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we answered your questions here, everybody. If you have any more questions, throw them in there. And let me look at my last sheet here. It's really a trend, and we're going to see more of it, right? And do you, since you happen to live in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, do you see more happening here?
Yeah, I'm aware, the old question is, how much can one community take of this asset class? And when I was with Watermark, we did 2 communities in Woodbury, and now there's a third, not a Watermark community, a different owner coming in and doing that. And so that'll be
That's
about
3 in one community.
That's 3 in one community. So that's 109 units, 81 units, and about 92 units. And so I don't know that I looked at the one that somebody else is doing. I couldn't get comfortable. Just, is there enough demand? But I am aware of one that's going, in the Blaine area, that will start probably this spring. And so there's really not anything up in that neck of the woods. There's one under construction, another one in Maple Grove. That one's about 55 units. I think that can support the demand. There's a big townhome one in Maple Grove that's been on again, off again. Greystar, big national company out of Atlanta, they're doing a huge one in Maple Grove that's all townhomes. And this other one has been on again, off again. It's about 150 townhomes. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be more to come. The current underwriting conditions, interest rates really aren't favorable for this space currently, at least from where we've been. And you can somewhat make that up if you get a lower land basis, but land sellers aren't really looking to move on their lower basis. They'll just wait. Some of the pricing, lumber's come down significantly. Concrete, drywall's gone up significantly. So overall house costs have kind of been stable, while there's been some reductions and increases across different buckets.
Okay, so if anyone wants to contact Ian here, I'm going to share a quick slide right here. Here's how you contact him right there. And I just want to thank you for sharing this. This is really interesting information, and it's cutting edge, folks. to figure out what's really going on. And this is, like we said, trending. This is not the only city by any means. This is a need that people have found, and I've seen it a lot. There's one small community in Minnesota here, and it's a little town out by Howard Lake, Montrose. You ever hear of that little town? There was a guy, I think he built 7 duplexes on this same premise. And, I had people calling and asking, but of course he wasn't doing anymore. So you may see this get into the duplex category somewhere someday. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's townhomes, there's duplexes. Yeah, there's little pockets all over of things like this that are scattered around. I mean, the more you dig around, the more you find them. And
I found that too. When I started digging, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea this is right under our nose, and I hadn't noticed it before. Oh, and Eric is asking, how do you determine a potential community to build in? How do you figure that out?
For the space that I operate in, like I said, I kind of target school districts. The realtors typically have their favorite school districts, whether it's Wayzata, whatever it is. And so, yeah, that's typically how it works, that folks will bring opportunities, or people will call me, hey, you want to take a look at this one? And the more I'll dive into it and figure it out. So the Rochester one was a bit of an anomaly. Back before the downturn, we had a little operation down there that built about 130 homes a year. And I always loved that submarket. And my daughter was a big swimmer. We were always down at Rochester after we shut it down. And I'm like, man, this has got to be great. And then coincidentally, lumber supplier's nephew brought this deal to me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of how it happens. It's all connections and word of mouth.
I love that you say that, because that's so true in this real estate business. It's the relationships, and that's why I've been around a long time, but that's a plus in the relationship category, because then I know people in a lot of arenas. And that's I love doing these interviews, because then I help everybody else get to know who's really up to something. And so I'm just really thankful that you said yes, because I had to really dig him up to figure out how to find him.
Right.
Not that big of a profile. So thank you for sharing your information. It really was interesting. And I just have to close the meeting today. I got to tell you about me here. So if anybody wants to work with me as a coach, I have my Proven Profit Formula coaching program. And you can just go to LeAnnRiley.com and book a free strategy session. And I have a Facebook community, and it is Real Estate Investing Made Simple. And there, I teach a lot of little tidbits, and you might want to go over there and join my Facebook group. It looks like we got one more question. No, it's somebody saying thank you. They thought it was really great. And then actually, Janus, I hope I'm saying his name right, he's working on a similar, much smaller development project. So he's got questions. What's the cost of the infrastructure in comparison to actual development? Janus, you should maybe give him a call.
It all varies. It all depends.
I'm sure.
I was using this example when I was down at the Senate a couple of weeks ago, and that is they were talking about housing affordability. And I said, housing affordability is primarily driven by development costs and building code issues. So on the development cost issue, park fees can range anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 per unit. And this particular deal I was referencing was the sanitary sewer area-wide fee in this particular city was almost $17,000 an acre. Compare that to, other areas, it's like $5,000 an acre. So, it all depends on the development fee portion of it. When you get down to streets, utilities, all that kind of thing, it's all kind of the same. And then obviously the grading cost, depending on the site, varies widely in terms of what kind of soils you have.
Oh, sure. Hills or not.
Right, right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you're putting in sewer and water and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Building all the roads and infrastructure.
And, some cities are cooperative and some cities aren't too.
Yeah, absolutely. In some cities, Maple Grove, they put in the sewer and water and the streets, and then they assess you back. And so somewhat it's a good thing because you can defer those assessments over a certain period of time. Another part, it's bad because typically you're paying
extra
30% more because it's running through a government contract.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Probably one of your skills, like you said, you love the land part of it. So that you can really analyze easily because that you love that part.
Right. Yep.
And you're experienced in it. And that, it sounds like, is a critical part. Yeah. This is many formulas on top of each other to make this thing work.
Yeah. A lot of spreadsheets.
I bet. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And,
yeah, thank you very much for having me. This has been great. It was great to meet you, and I love what you're doing. Entrepreneurial spirit, and it's fantastic. So congratulations to you.